Craig, and I'll introduce you by saying that I've known Craig longer than John and I've known each other, about a decade. Craig and I worked in the world of learning and development. We've worked very closely for several stretches and then not so closely, but we've stayed very well connected. Craig and I are the sort of friends, former colleagues who became friends. And I always describe Craig when I introduce him in person or in principle as a polymath because Craig is a musician, a former practicing and touring musician. He writes songs, he plays songs. His daughter is a wonderful musician as well. There's a very definitive art to Craig. Craig was also a practicing therapist. And so he brings that very, I think, empathetic sort of personality to his work and insightful in the most helpful sort of ways. But Craig's been in learning and development in the corporate world, which is where I've traveled for most of the last two, almost 3 decades, which is where Craig and I met. But Craig, when you go out into the world, for folks who are listening to this who don't know you as well as John and I do, how do you introduce yourself?
Oh, that's a great question. And I was thinking about that when you were introducing John. And first of all, John, I didn't know you were a spy. How did I not know that?
Well, you're not supposed to. I was a good one.
Yeah, you were. And it gave me pause for thought. I'm like, oh wow. Uh I don't know what to do with that. I'm gonna have to think about that, John. Um, usually people say they start that conversation, Todd, with, so what do you do? Right? People in America like to say, well, what do you do? And my response, I don't mean it to be glib, but my response is usually, I'm somebody that does low key change in lives. I make a difference in people's lives. That's how I introduce myself, and then people are either interested in knowing what that means or they don't.